Hey everybody, welcome back to a Titanovix Deck Tech video. Today we're going to be looking at one of the stronger versions of Maria that I've kind of put together so far. And for instance, let's just read the card and we can kind of get an idea what we're doing with it. Maria, the Scholar of Antiquity, is one colorless. It is a mountain and a forest for its casting cost. So 3 casting costs total for this particular card. It's a legendary creature, an elf artificer. Tap an untapped non-token artifact you control, add forest. It's a little bit different than Urza because it can't tap like non-tokens for mana. Basically, the things that we can tap are like artifact permanents that typically are cast from hand. Such like a Jeweled Lotus, like this isn't like a dead card in this deck, like fortunately. So even if we've already casted Maria, we can still, if we have the Jeweled Lotus on the battlefield, we can go ahead and just utilize Maria's ability to tap this down for a green mana source. So that's kind of nice. So it has artifact in its designation. It's not a token. It is a definite artifact, permanent. Okay, so additionally, tap 2 untapped non-token artifacts you control. So additionally, like tapping a Jeweled Lotus and another artifact that is also a non-token. And we can go ahead and exile a card from the top of our library and play it this turn. So for instance, if we had a Soul Ring and a Jeweled Lotus, and we didn't have any use for the mana, we go ahead and just tap these down, and then we'd exile this card from the top of our library and we'd be able to play it that turn. So that's called also Impulse Draw. So that's a way to kind of illustrate that, of course. Now, like in terms of this particular format, which is probably, the cards that are a little bit on the pricier side, I would say for this particular deck, I'd say like a lot of the more expensive cards like Lion's Eye Diamond, those are all proxied. But I'd say a good amount of cards I've collected over time, like the Jeweled Lotus that I had just kind of showed you, those are real. But like pretty much all the cards like over $600, and a lot of the fast mana like Mox Diamond and one of the other Moxons, those are all proxied. But a lot of the cards are real, so that's kind of fun too, kind of mixing it and kind of having a little bit of value into the particular format. But this deck is based on I think there's one, if you just type in Maria stacks on the internet, you'll find a pretty good base. And yeah, I just kind of added a few touches and maybe a different kind of win con that maybe kind of I want to pursue a little bit. And let's just get right into it. So there's that. This was just like kind of an example hand that would occur over like a few turns, like a 2-turn example. So I'll just kind of zoom out just a little bit. And I'm just kind of imagine that, this is kind of our opener here. And just imagine basically like a, one hand opener, one land opener here. So this would be fine. Yeah, we can observe through this. So we can kind of get an idea what kind of starts are pretty decent, right? And I did like more or less kind of shuffle this out, and kind of this was the hand we were dealt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we draw into 8 for our turn. So it's very explosive, right? Even like on a 1, it could be very explosive. And this is like the kind of hands we have to kind of mulligan into, right? To kind of these aggressive starts. So for instance, like starting off with a Ragavan here, we can go into the Mox Amber, Lion's Eye Diamond. These are just 0 cost cards. And then the Jeweled Lotus here, as we see. Then we go ahead and tap the Mox Amber down because we have a Ragavan. This Jeweled Lotus will be sacked to cast Maria, like so. And then we go ahead and tap the Lion's Eye Diamond off here for a Soul Ring. And that basically nearly empties our hand until we are basically left with the Wheel of Fortune and a Vandal Blast. So we can draw to our next hand. It is an Ancient Tomb. So we go ahead and untap here. This is just like kind of pretty incredible start. You know, this is kind of like all the things lining up. And, you know, I think even if we attack with Ragavan here and we connect, I believe we could Vandal Blast the table. I believe we have enough mana with a treasure. So for instance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Might be slightly off, but it's very, actually I think we can tap the Lion's Eye damage from just mana anyways, right? So for instance, if we were to cast Vandal Blast, let's just use our colorless here. So for instance, like Ancient Tomb, there's that. And then we can go into City of Brass. Yeah, that's fine. So that's our Vandal Blast mana. So we get to Vandal Blast the table, destroy all the artifacts on the battlefield that we don't control. This is turn 2. And then we have our treasure left over from Ragavan, Mox Amber, Lion's Eye Diamond. Go ahead and don't sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond. Just tap it for mana, sacrifice our treasure, go ahead into a wheel. Just draw a fresh 7 here. Yeah, and then we can just keep going. You know, we drew into the opal here. It's kind of amazing, man. Go into like a opal, because that's just free. And I'm sure we have 3 artifacts, we do. So we can go into a Haywire Mite, just a little more artifact hate / enchantment hate. Got lands for next turn, got Jessica's Will, got a lot of stacks pieces here. So yeah, pretty nasty. That was a nasty one. Definitely a nasty presentation of the deck. I mean, we have some breach lines here with the Lion's Eye Diamond too, so yeah, that's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I don't know. You know, I'll see how it goes, but you can kind of just get an idea. I think we're running about 27 lands in here. You know, we're still looking at, you know, some of these cards too. I kind of like, you know, some of these ones, especially like a Dowsing Device, because it just turns into a land basically like kind of immediately, and it can also provide haste to like one of our goblins that can get value from the graveyard. So I like the Dowsing Device. We're definitely have some like artifact synergy with the graveyard, you know, so Scrapwork Mud is very good. We'll have some removal, of course. We'll definitely have a Sensei Divining top line where we're going to be playing like Foundry Inspector and Experimental Frenzy. So that's a card where we can just kind of like recast Sensei's Divining Top like over and over again. And, you know, based on that, we can like Grape Shot opponents, and that'd be a good one. This one's a sneaky one, like a Cityscape Leveler. It's just a nice one to kind of keep in the back burner. It's on the pricier side, but the fact that it could just be going into the graveyard is exceptional for us and getting that value if we need to do it. Delighted Halfling. Here's some of that fast mana. Chrome Mox. This was just one of those super duper accelerators, you know, just kind of gets you like an extra inch. There's a Ballista. So like, you know, the Teamer Saber-tooth dockside lines, you know, have all the dockside kind of, you know, payoffs here, like all the different kind of tutoring abilities, like finding the Teamer Saber-tooth or finding the dockside. Of course, the Dockside Extortionist, that's the one where you just get an abundance of treasures based on like how many artifacts your opponents and enchantments that they control. It's really crazy. See, this is kind of like where maybe my decks depart just ever so slightly. Like, I really enjoy like the Aetherflux Reservoir for Maria, just because there's just so many like small mana plays, and like you can kind of just storm off a little bit here and there. This card is really fun with what's it called? Mycosynth Gardens. So that one's a really nice one to basically copy the Aetherflix reservoir, and then like you're like basically stacking those things on top of each other and really getting to that like 50 life criteria even faster. So that one's kind of fun. Also, I'd say like I have seen these in some Maria decks, but these are very exceptional, and maybe I don't see them enough, and maybe some of the more competitive lists. So this is something I would definitely consider for everybody. Is like the Ruby and Emerald medallions, because they not only discount your spells from Maria, but they can also be tapped for mana. So it's like getting ahead like twice. So I mean that's the thing about Maria, and when we're thinking about getting the most out of her commanders, that's what she's very good at. Is she's good at like tapping artifacts at will and utilizing it for mana. And some of these other things just have static abilities, like the really nasty stack effects where tapping these things down are going to like really benefit us very much. So for instance, like let's just zoom on this one. This one's nasty. Oops, sorry about that. Let's see here. So here's the Winter Orb. And this one is just a disgusting card, where a player may not untap more than one land during the untap phase of each of his or her turn. So it really chokes them up, right? Really chokes up their land base. And a thing about Winter Orb is that how this thing doesn't like, affect us. We just wait to the end step of the person that's going to that is prior to our turn. During their end step, we go ahead and just tap this down with Maria. And then when it comes back to us, then this thing untaps simultaneously with everything, and we get to untap all of our lands together. So that's a nice one, right? Really nasty stack effect there. All right. Here we go. Mana Vault, and you can see like some of these proxies that I've gotten. Like obviously, there's probably a good amount, and this is one of them. You can kind of tell it's just kind of a fake card, but it does a trick. It looks mostly like the card, and it has all the text on it that you'd have it have. So Mana Vault's very cool because it's like a really big bump. Just kind of nets you like 2 colorless mana immediately. So it's kind of interesting, to be honest. Here's the Mox Diamond. So this is just that additional, that like, fast mana where we exile a land card. We just discard a land card, fine. And then add 1 mana of any color to our mana pool. It's great. Yeah. So then we have Lotus Petal. Once again, like we don't necessarily have to sacrifice a Lotus Petal, but it might benefit us from sacrificing it, to get a little bit ahead in the beginning. But we could always just, tack this down with Maria for green and not sack it in general. Cavernous Souls, maybe just to like give us maybe an edge for some uncounterability. Maybe we want to name Goblin or something. Maybe Elf. Like it really just depends. So it's kind of versatile like that. So it makes whatever that is, like add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana to cast a creature spell. The chosen type of that mana can't be countered, so that's nice. I believe this could probably be a Gemstone Caverns. I've kind of made some, yeah, so there's a mountain. So I haven't gotten that card yet. I don't think I'll purchase it either. It's like a $70 card, so probably have to get that one proxied up. Bird of Paradise for some mana ramp. Here's the Goblin Engineer, just a very good card to like derive a lot of our stacks pieces. Just like, get them into our graveyard and then put them onto the battlefield. Sounds good to me. There's the Goblin Engineer. Also going to work really good with that Dowsing Device where, we're giving this thing haste if we bring it down the turn of, and then we have that mana available from the Dowsing Device in red, because Mary only taps for green. So it's just a very interesting interaction, just to have a little bit of haste possibility. Noxious Revival, again, we're going to be filling our graveyard with things. So Noxious Revival is a nice one to get back those key cards that we need. Worldly Tutor, just to kind of tutor up, maybe our, Dockside or Teamer Sabertooth or whatever creature we really need at that time. Finale, also another just tutor here. Those Dockside Teamer, infinite mana combo stuff. I mean, obviously that's quite important, and obviously there's a lot of win conditions involved with just doing those sequences, like you're casting additional spells, you're creating abundance of mana, and you can really do a lot with that, right? More often than not, win the game. Mycosynth Gardens is just, what can I say? It's just probably one of our most key land cards. I would even consider like a crop rotation to just find this thing, So we'll see. I mean, honestly, this is like just a very rough draft, and my first experience using proxies, and looking into like what people play for stacks for Maria. So I mean, I pretty much took most of their lines, to be honest. Like, I have a what is it called, grinding station? Yeah, I have that kind of underworld breach stuff. Like, there's those basically where you're like milling all your cards into your graveyard, and then like winning the game from there, because you have all this potential to do basically combo off with things, right? Fashion a Win, as I heard, I think his name's Mons. He did a very good feature on Maria. So I think the things that I don't have that maybe they have is probably like those nice lines like endurance to like basically stop like Vast Oracle, those cards that can be utilized like in kind of a surprise fashion to stop other combos. So I will definitely like take this to my LGS during like a more competitive day, and see how it goes, because it's basically just like their shells that these people have like said think are good for this format. Then I've just maybe added like a different win condition that I like, pretty much it. So Null Rod, that one's a nice one where we can still derive the benefit from mana from our artifacts with Maria, because Maria is a creature and she can just go ahead and tap this down for mana. But this is a brutal card where artifact abilities requiring activation costs can't be utilized. So like sacrificing treasures would be also stopped, of course. Collector Oof has a similar kind of function of this. So these just kind of shut down like just artifacts interacting with each other. That's the best way I can explain that. That's like equipment, vehicles, like the crewing things. It's basically all just kind of stopped in its place. So very interesting, guys? Survival of the Fittest. This is that really nasty 2-drop that you can just go ahead and discard like a creature card. We're going to be playing a decent amount of creatures, so yeah, we can go find like those key combinations of cards, of course. And we already mentioned the Dockside Extortionist, so obviously that's always a target. Rockfall Vale, might consider like a better dual land here, maybe like yeah, definitely. I think I might have just had this from a prior deck, for instance. So I'll just go ahead and turn this one on the backside. Probably like, there's a Mana I think I already had a Mana Confluence. I don't know. I'll find a good dual land that, we can put in there. Maybe that won't be slowed down. Turntimber Symbiosis, a sweet one. Maybe to, look into that and dig a little bit for a creature. Lair of the Hydra, maybe to pump up like a big Hydra. Be kind of fun too if we needed to. Deflecting Swat. This one is the one that we can change the targets of a spell or ability, so that's kind of fun. And we can do so just with the with our commander on the battlefield, so it could act as kind of a free spell, so we can stop some Docksides from triggering. We can have that target of the spell ability, or that ability target us, and then we can get a lot of treasures. He's clearly proxied, you can tell. These are obviously all my Tempest ones these are real, of course. Emerald Medallion, it's a nice one there. We kind of discussed that already. There's Gaia's Cradle, obviously that one's very proxied. Add Forest to your mana pool for each creature control, fantastic. Very cool card. This was, I think I had the Henge in here. This is definitely a real henge. But this was like, I was thinking of like this was basically the spot of like, and if you all want to, key in on this, I think I'm gonna put the God Pharaoh's statue like for more stacks. I was thinking of like an artifact that would be like really nice to resurrect and a good payoff. You can have Portal to Phyrexia, could be like a choice. But as it like in playing the stacks kind of format where we're kind of drowning people, I think the God's Pharaoh statue would be probably a good payoff. And I don't know if we're playing enough creatures anyways for the henge to be really good. But of course, it's a fantastic card. Fable for that, creating fodder, creating the treasures and a board of creatures was kind of nice. Here's the Underworld Breach. Also, obviously, Fable works with Underworld to like fuel our graveyard as well. Underworld Breach, this card seems kind of wild with us. Just we're going to be putting so many cards into our graveyard, and then we're going to be able to kind of fish for those combos. And there is a couple key cards in here that like keep fueling your graveyard too, like a I think it's called Grinding Station. That was a cool one. We'll get to that. So we'll just keep that one to the side and kind of look at that one. Blood Moon is just disgusting with Maria because, we're already playing in like red-green, and then we can tap our artifacts for green with Maria on the battlefield, so we don't really get punished by the Blood Moon. So it's really awesome. Okay, Magus of the Moon. This is just another one that's going to just turn all the non-basic lands into mountains once again. Boseiju, Who Endures. This is that really nice channel land. This is a real one. This is not real. Can you spot the ones that are real or not real? Basically, any of the cards that are over like probably $100 are mostly not real, like especially the Moxen. But I have Ancient Tomb in here. I have a real Mox Opal, and I have a real Jeweled Lotus. So they were just like, I was mentioning to somebody on the chat, like, these are just cards that were just collecting dust, like, some of these stronger cards. And I was like, I got to put something together to like, utilize these cards that I've opened in packs. This is definitely not real, unfortunately. But I would probably consider maybe eventually getting the real Mana Crypt. But, for now, it's proxied. So, Sylvan Library. Prize Statue. This card is absolutely crazy. I really love this one. Just like, this could like work into those kind of breach lines too, where you're just busting this out, and I have ways to like sacrifice this thing with some of the goblins and really get a lot of value out of it. So we like the Prize Statue very much. Gamble. Okay, so we don't really mind things going to the graveyard too much of this deck, so we're cool with the gamble to like tutor up a card into our hand. Sounds good to me. Smuggler's Copter. This is just like, these cards, they won't work again with the Smuggler Oof or the Null Rod, but they'll still tap for mana, so it's like a give and take, We'll see how it goes. I think it'll be fine. Goblin Welder, there's that one. That one exchanges any artifact on the battlefield for one in our graveyard. Fantastic. There's the Collector Oof, just shuts down all the activated abilities artifacts. Shriekhorn, we probably don't have enough graveyard hate here either. Like, I saw Grafdigger's Cage. Also, that was it. Grafdigger's Cage and Endurance. So, yeah, that'll probably definitely be... This is definitely more greedy, I'd say, so far. So, I know we'll see how it goes, but I love Shriekhorn just to fill our graveyard with stuff. It's really great. Alter the Brood. This one was kind of nasty, too. I was just going through my binder, and I was like, that's pretty good. Like, seems like... I mean, it's any permanent, right? So, once again, we could, like, copy this with a Mycosynth Garden and really start going hog wild with like a Dockside or whatever it is that creates an abundance of permanence, and start milling our opponents with it. So that's one I want to try. This is a nice one from Maria because it's the one colorless. Of course, getting value out of our graveyard. Eternal Witness. This one's so fantastic. I love all the unearthed ones. So you'll see I have a preference for the unearthed cards from Maria. I really enjoy them very much. She just works so well with the graveyard. All these artifacts work so well of putting value into the graveyard and having it available at a moment's notice. So it's just really nice stuff. Helps you dig a little bit too. Here's a Saga for that awesome, just like tutoring ability. And yeah, we just love that, finding a 0 or 1, when we need it for artifacts. Grove of the Burn Willow, more value from the graveyard, just returning like a creature or land card. Can also turn our basics into like, producing more mana. We probably won't have too many basics. So, this might be like a card, like, depending on if I'm deriving enough value or not from the graveyard, I could consider, maybe some artifact, graveyard hate and such. So Virtue Strength though for now. Mesmeric Orb for building up the graveyard for us. It's a nice one as well. Experimental Frenzy, this is the one where you have a nice combo with the Sensei's Divining Top and like, for instance, like Foundry Inspector, where you're just putting the Sensei's Divining Top back onto your top of your library and then recasting over and over again, right? And then you can work up to like a big grape shot, for instance, like that, or it works with the Aetherflux Reservoir when you keep casting, of course, and building up your life total. So there's just win conditions there for this Frenzy. I really enjoy this rather than Mystical Forge. I haven't ever been very impressed with Mystic Forge, to be honest with you guys, just because it like kind of bricks off on like lands and other spells. More often than not, Experimental Frenzy is kind of like a happy place where you can just play, anything from the top of your library, and you have that ability to destroy that will. So that's kind of nice. There's that Foundry Inspector, kind of works into that combo. Reducing our artifact cost of our spells. Synthesizer, just for some like some additional gasoline. The red cost is a little like particular, unfortunately, but just getting that extra card off of it and then being able to sacrifice and getting another card off of it seems good. And also being able to tap it for mana. I really like the Synthesizer and these kind of value piles. The One Ring for like an abundance of cards. Pyroblast for some counter magic. Grinding Station. Okay, so there's that one. So what does this do exactly? Sacrifice an artifact. Target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Whenever an artifact comes into play, you may untap Grinding Station. So it can just, once again, just another combination with like making those thousands of treasures with a Dockside and Temur Sabertooth. You're just sacrificing all your treasures and milling everybody out. Easy win condition. Also, you could also do this to yourself. For instance, with like your 0 drops, any 0 drop, right? In Underworld Breach, you can just mill yourself, get all those cards that you need to, assemble the combo, and going from there, storming off from there. And I could foresee like, creating abundance of mana once again with some of the aforementioned cards. Maybe you just have to be creating some you could create quite a bit of mana with a Lion's Eye Diamond, just by recasting that, by exiling cards with Underworld Breach. You can create an abundance of mana through that way. And then, maybe you need to do it a few times and exile most of your library. But, once that happened, you could, start, with a win condition. You probably wouldn't need to assemble too much mana, because you'd have so many cards to, utilize. But yeah, I'll explore it. Like, this is new to me, but I feel I could see the potential, of course, with all these cards together. Wheel of Misfortune, just for another wheel. Probably, at my LGS, like, people, like, usually put low life totals. I'm kind of surprised. Like, I feel like it'd be, like, kind of competitive to maybe get a new hand and put things into your graveyard. So, yeah, Wheel of Misfortune's nice. I think you could probably, like, bid, like, I think 12 life should, from my LGS is a lot, and it seems I would basically win you that wheel each time. So it's a pretty safe number, I think. You take kind of a big hit, but, could win the game too, right? You have a Maya, Duretti. So this one's a nice one where you're just have the ability to loot into your graveyard, and then at will you can go ahead and sacrifice an artifact to exchange, maybe that God Pharaoh statue on the battlefield. So that's a nice interaction. Trinisphere, this one's a nasty one where, we can drop a Trinisphere, can play like our higher casting cards if we want, and then maybe if we have like a win in our hand, we can go ahead and tap the Trinisphere down and start, maybe playing some of those lower costed cards, and maybe hopefully winning the game from there. Otherwise, spells that would cost more than 3, that cost less than 3 mana cost 3. So like that really shuts down like a lot of like low cost cards and low cost counter spells. So it's a very interesting card. This is a real one. I did pick up the real Trinisphere, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, that's a nice one there. So Hope of Gear Report, just because this thing just slaps, just like shuts down an opponent from casting non-creatures when it connects. It's so good. Love it for Maria. Great card. This is Agatha's Soul Cauldron to like get into our graveyard and maybe perhaps copy like a Walking Ballista. So that would be a nice one where we can just go ahead and exile that Walking Ballista and all of our creatures become Walking Ballistas. And that'd be just another way of deriving that value that way and hopefully winning. It'd be kind of fun to like, yeah, that'd be fun, huh? And then we have Paradise Mantle. Yeah, I still am gonna like get used to this card. I'm pretty sure, yeah, the Walking Ballista is one of those activated abilities. You can do that. It's really kind of interesting, like that card in general, just the way it's worded. I'm wondering if it could copy like a Hope of Girapur's stuff, It is possible, right? It's possible that it will get that kind of like an activated ability, right? Perhaps. We'll have to see. All right, Paradise Mantle. So there's the awesome 0-drop that can turn Maria or one of our creatures into a mana rock. So it's not an artifact creature, so they're not useless. Jessica's Will. That's that super duper card where you can do both modes if you control your commander. So you add about red for each card in target opponent's hand, then you can get gas with the exiling part. It's really strong. Very cool card. Blasphemous Act, just like kill everything if we have to. It's fine. Grape Shot, this is that one that's kind of works into a lot, and you can kind of see that it has like a lot of versatility. So very excited for Grape Shot here. Otherwise, I'm not too excited about this card, but it seems pretty cool here. Static Orb, just more stacks. So we have the stacked pieces here. So if Static Orb is untapped, players can't untap more than 2 permanents during their untap. So that's really brutal, huh? Wow. Crazy. Howling Mine. And a little bit, I did read about it. Like there was someone that plays this, in a more competitive format. And they said really, the primary focus is to get these stack pieces down. So really that's like the primary focus is to get these out first and find them in any way possible, because Maria does so well with it, right? So that would definitely be the objective. Howling Mine, this one's also just a perfect one with Maria where you can just tap it down and you're going to be drawing the cards. That's great. You'll be drawing an extra card on every draw step and you'll be tapping it for mana. It's great. City of Brass, Soul Ring, Ancient Tomb, Haywire Might for some nice removal. Whew, love that one. There's the Mox Opal. This one is the real deal. It's the real deal right there. So yeah, some of the cards are real and some are not. Like this is definitely not I think it's got like a proxy, yeah. So there's that. And I talked to like my, I'm part of the CGB Discord, and there's, these are considered, I think, like counterfeit cards, because, they're pretty much identical. But there's, I think there's a couple different ways about, and maybe I'll post into the description kind of what he said and maybe one of the sites that he talked about. maybe we can talk about that a little bit more. But there are definitely some sites that like utilize like more unique art, and they are not like identical to this, but the card quality is like very similar and kind of gives like players an avenue to explore these cards without having them, break their bank. So there's Mox Amber, of course, a really nice one, of course. Really nice 0-drop. Got plenty of 0-drops. Ragavan, it's the great kind of mana dork and can also steal cards from people's libraries too. Very evasive creature. And also turns on cards like our Mox Amber, like at a very decent rate. They're kind of amazing, right? The Wheel of Fortune, just a beautiful card because we're going to be pooping out our hand so fast. Some more removal and Vandal Blast, and then a Jeweled Lotus. So there it is. Yeah, I'm ready to go take that to the LGS one day and see how it goes, and make some changes here and there probably, and then I'll report back. So thanks for hanging out. Bye bye.